What's going on, family? It's Madison Vieira back at it again. This time bringing you a different kind of, different type of video here. Just more talking about what we got going on in the plan, things like that. My approaches, beliefs, all things bodybuilding. So, wanted to start bringing a little bit more of this to the table as well on my channel, not just so much training, because I have been able to hop over on my boy Anson's podcast over at Iron Obsession, and that kind of has just sparked the inspiration to make sure that I also have these type of videos as well on my channel. So, man, I just wanted to bring what's going on in my plan right now. And I guess we're on the road to 300 pounds here. So, I've been waking up today. I was 278, the highest I've seen so far. And this is just in my health phase, guys. So the highest I've seen so far was 283 after the show, and pretty comfortably, I must say. Things are smooth. Again, we're in the health phase, so we're just using testosterone and a little bit of GH. 6 IU's of GH right now, 200 milligrams of testosterone, and then eating 5,500 calories. And things are going great. I honestly got to say that I think that this is the approach, especially once you get to a certain size. I think rebounding straight out of a show, especially if it's been a longer season, is just not wise. So initially, I was coaching myself out of the show, and that was going to be my plan, was to just rebound out, like anyone normally would, keep anabolics in, take all the oral compounds out, slowly taper off T3, things like that, taper off the fat burners. But what I ended up doing was just leaving in I actually pulled the fat burners totally out. So I was going to say I left those in, but I just left the thyroid support in, and immediately testosterone and then growth hormone as well were the only things that I left in play. And I had things set up a little bit differently. I had my testosterone set at 490 milligrams a week, I believe I had it set at. And then with the 6 IU's of GH, and that was for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the show. And then when I got with Andrew, he suggested let's taper it down a little bit more. And that's been for the past 3 weeks now. We've been on that. And got to say that was probably a wise approach, just to get a little bit more fresh here before we get started. But I will say that that's definitely got me ready to go, starting to feel a little bit shitty. You guys know how that is when you just start feeling like you're in the natty ranges, because a day natty is a day wasted, guys, and everyone knows that. So, but you got to be smart, of course. But so what I wanted to talk about a little bit through this video, I got some points here that I want to talk about, and I might throw in some little freestyle points and stuff like that. But I just wanted to talk about some of the changes that have came to my training during this time since I've moved over to working with Andrew. And by the way, shout out to my coach, Andrew Ooze, Full Grain Bodybuilding over there. He is a fucking awesome, very knowledgeable guy. He's just turned pro this year. Super knowledgeable dude, man, and very open-minded as well. And just, someone that's willing to try things and has tried things himself and knows, what kind of works, what won't. And again, is always learning and just trying to be on the, at the forefront of what's new and what works, essentially. So I definitely love being able to collaborate with him on my plan, and us work together a little bit and really come up with some good game plans for this upcoming season. So the changes that immediately occurred, I was doing a ton of volume and carrying that volume even into the cruise phase, even without the recovery support there. And I was just taking a beating. Essentially, the joints were getting a little bit cooked, things like that. So we immediately dropped the volume down after I got with him. And then the training structure itself became just a little bit more specialized as well. Quad and biceps are trained together first day of the week, and then there's a posterior day. Then it's chest, shoulders, triceps. Then it's an active rest day where we just train biceps, and I do a little bit of abs as well. And I can throw calves in there too. Sometimes I don't even go to the gym though on that day. Like today, it's going to be one of those days, and I'm just not going to go to the gym and train. I'm going to do all that here at home with, dumbbells, and I got an easy curl bar here with a little Olympic plates you can load on there. So we're going to use that to get the biceps done, do a little bit of transverse abdominal training, and then probably just body weight calves. And the reason for that is we had a crazy long day at work today, very manually labor taxing day. So I feel like that just would be crazy to go train calves super hard. And then we have a leg day tomorrow. So want to stay nice and fresh for that. But that was one of the first approaches or first changes that were made with his approach was the volume came down. It's 2 working sets for everything, 2 top sets, but we're training in a higher rep range in most of those top sets. The lowest rep range that I have is 12. Everything is 12 or better. Most things are 20 to 25 for 2 sets. And that just kind of forces me to be safer, use a little bit of a lighter load because he knows I'm going to go hard. So I feel like that was by design. That way I can go as hard as I want to, but we're using loads that are not going to get us injured, essentially. And yeah, it's been good. Things have been going smooth. Recovery is a little bit improved. I will say though, as I think my testosterone levels have just come down, recovery is not even quite there for this volume. This amount of volume that I'm currently doing. I've been getting cooked after just 2 training days. I'm pretty smoked already. So it's been interesting to say the least. And this is the most mindful that I have been of recovery because simply put, the last post-show phase that I had, I was not mindful. I hit it balls to the walls, was working a crazy work schedule, training really hard, ended up with rhabdo. So I'm not trying to find myself in that predicament again. I'm trying to allow the body to get as fresh as possible so that I have a long runway for a nice long off season. But yeah, I touched a little bit. One of my points I had here was touching on using actual cruise doses versus cruising on a higher milligram amount. And to be honest with you, I had approached this initially. I wanted to cruise on a little bit of a higher milligram amount in total, but after talking with him, I'm trying his approach just simply because we're working together. He made the suggestion, so I figure why not, buy into his approach. But I will say it's definitely probably time to up the dose a bit because, don't want to lose any tissue and don't want to just essentially find myself in a position of just putting on body fat. So we're probably going to crank the dosages up and keep the anabolics out for now. And then that'll all start back up the beginning of the year. We'll throw some anabolics in there as well, have that in play. So currently what I'm using peptides wise is just 6 IUs of GH. I was using a milligram a week of retatrutide, but that has come out this week as well. Just to help with being able to get the meals in. I don't want anything slowing digestion down whatsoever now. That food is going to be getting scaled up. So I want everything to be flowing nice and smoothly, no issues. So again, that is why that's coming out. Not that it was impeding digestion too much, but I did notice by like that last meal, they were starting to get backed up a little bit. If I wasn't super mindful of getting a crazy amount of steps and doing, at least 30 minutes of cardio every day on top of my 10,000 steps. So I want to be able to chill a little bit and still have that food flowing through nicely and not have to have such a high output essentially to keep everything moving optimally. And that seems to have been working. This was the first week I was dosing it every Wednesday. Today's Thursday. So this is the first full week that I have not, no, actually yesterday would have been the first day that I didn't take the shot. So I took it last Wednesday and then didn't take it this week. So it should be slowly tapering out of the system now. And I can definitely tell digestion is picking up and moving along nice and smooth. And then also what we're using is SLU-PP332. I really like this peptide because it's a mitochondrial enhancer. And yeah, I notice it immediately. I mean, it makes me sweat a lot more when I'm, working hard. I can break a sweat a lot easier, and it feels like I'm just like ATP gets kicked up pretty quickly, if that makes sense. As soon as I get the heart rate going and I'm doing something pretty vigorous, I'm sweating along, and I'm feeling great. Honestly, like you get that burst of energy pretty quickly. And I will say that I feel like it definitely improves the metabolism, blood glucose as well. And then something that I noticed that really made me a fan of it when I threw it in at the beginning of prep for this last show, I went and pulled labs, and my kidney values had improved. Mind you, I'm running EQ at this point. I was using 400 milligrams of Trin at this point, 700 milligrams of test, and I think it was 700 milligrams of EQ as well. So all that was in play at that point. Pulled labs after running SLU. I think I had had it in play for about a month. Pulled labs, and the kidney numbers had improved even from the previous cruise lab numbers. So I was very impressed with that, and I attest that for sure. Probably to having a little bit of Retta in play. I think I had a milligram in play at that point, and then the SLU as well. So I'm a huge fan of those two, just simply because they can keep you healthier on cycle. Another thing that I'm a huge fan of, while on or off, honestly, is just making sure that, obviously everyone knows, but keep up with your blood pressure, and then just keeping telmisartan in play. That's something. This isn't a peptide, but this is just another thing to, down that health avenue that I would definitely like to touch on. That I don't feel like a lot of people are very mindful of, especially newer guys. Keep up with your blood pressure for sure. Make sure you're checking it, and if your blood pressure is running high at all, make sure that you are on a blood pressure medication, or you're doing something to mitigate that and manage that, whether that's hydration, electrolyte intake, whatever you need to do. Make sure blood pressure is always in a good spot. This is mainly for my newer guys. Obviously, you veterans and shit, you already know what time it is when it comes to blood pressure. But I do have some newer guys that may train at my gym, or that I'm in contact with, that are newer to the TRT realm, things like that. So this is kind of for you guys. Make sure that you're on top of your blood pressure, guys, because things can get out of range and you won't even know it unless you're checking it weekly. And it's something that's super important, and essentially is a silent killer that we all need to be mindful of, especially if we have anabolics in play. So that's something that's super important. So the calories are up to 5,500, like I talked about. That's around 800 to 850 carbs, 300 to 350 protein, about 65 grams of fat daily. How do you eat all this food every day? And this is something that's going to have to be maintained, getting to 300 pounds, or if that's where the body has to go to put on the necessary size. We're not chasing the scale, but we're not slowing it down either. And we're not trying to gain 5-10 pounds a week, but we are trying to be trending in the upward direction month to month. And that's the main goal, is to put on the size that we need to be a very competitive pro. And that's the plan. And that's probably, at my height, it's probably going to need to be, off seasons are going to need to be pushed to 300 plus. So this is new waters here, to be, this heavy and this lean, and to be needing this much food. I've been 300 pounds before, but at a point in my life where I wasn't even going to the gym. I was literally just a fat, sloppy, out of shape, strung out, alcoholic, drug addict. That's another video for another time. But here, back to the main subject. How are we going to be eating enough food to maintain that lean 300 pounds? Something that I am a huge fan of, guys, and I know a lot of coaches put this in their plan, and I preach on it to my guys as well, and gals as well that I coach. Honey. When we're pushing up calories and somebody's having a hard time eating more food, I'm a huge fan of honey. It's maple syrup, 100% natural jellies, jams, all these extra little calories that we can get in that are cheap, that are easy. And I call them cheap calories because they are something that you can put on a piece of food. You're going to be able to get a ton of calorie out of it, and it's not going to buy up a bunch of real estate in your stomach. So we're getting some cheap calories. So that's why I'm a huge fan of honey. One lady in particular that I have on my roster, we are just now, she's being introduced to refeeding and high days and stuff like that. And she's lost a ton of weight. So it's kind of a scary waters for her to just be increasing calories. Like, it's mind blowing for her. And I had to, really preach to her, like, hey, this is going to put your body in a better spot so that when we pull calories down again, we have a lot more runway to burn fat and things like that. Well, the meals and things like that were just kind of an issue as far as volume, to be putting that much rice in her plan. I didn't expect her to be able to eat all that rice, or all those carbs in rice, I should say. One thing that we leaned on, maple syrup and honey, and she was putting that on all kinds of stuff, on sweet potatoes, on her oats, on toast, on bagels, on all kinds of stuff, and just trying to really buy as much calorie as you can for not that much real estate. And again, we're trying to stay away from fats in these situations as well. Um, Obviously, fats are going to be in the meal plan, but they are very controlled. Everything is controlled, but fats are tried. We try to keep those to a minimum, and then we're really just scaling up carbohydrates. Those are what get pretty high. So bagels. And another thing that I've been using, and I used it towards the end of this last prep just to make it easy to eat, baby rice, Gerber baby rice. It's very soft texture. You can make it watery, you can make it thicker, you can do whatever you want with it. And you can get a ton of carbs in for not that much space, or you can make a little bit of carbs, a ton of space. You can kind of go either way, like you can with cream of rice. And cream of rice is another one as well. So there's all kinds of little hacks to get extra calories in and calories in that aren't going to take up a ton of space, and you're still getting all those carbs, and you're still getting in good, quality nutrients as well. Like honey is an awesome source of carbohydrate, in my opinion. I think it improves digestion. It improves just that overall sense of well-being. When you get a nice little hit of honey in the morning, man, you feel great. You like just it's a different type of energy, I feel like, especially if you're getting like some all natural honey and stuff like that. It's kind of a different carbohydrate or a different sugar hit. I know a calorie is a calorie at the end of the day, and the carb is a carb, sugar is sugar, but it's something different when you get some natural honey in there. Same with maple syrup. Like these are like power foods, I feel like, because you can get a lot of it in and it doesn't take up a lot of space, like I said. But the majority of the meals that we lean on are meat and rice. So I might sneak like 2 of those smaller meals in, like I was just explaining, but that's just to buy room, because some of these meals that I'm eating are up to like 2 uncupped cooks of rice, or uncooked cups of rice. That was a tongue twister. Uncooked cups of rice. So that's a ton of rice. It's like 400 and something grams of cooked rice or something. So the rice portions are getting pretty big. We're not really scaling up the protein any. Protein's pretty much going to stay stagnant. But I've noticed, because I was doing every meal with rice, and then I would do my egg white and eggs meal with rice. I would do my chicken meal with rice, turkey meal with rice. The meals start getting they're big meals. So after a while, you just get tired of having to put down that much food. So another thing I love to use is sourdough, whether it be big loaves of homemade sourdough, or you go to the store and you buy sourdough English muffins, the loaf of just regular like sourdough sandwich bread. And then you go to the bakery section and get some different fancier variations of sourdough. And that's amazing, man. It's so good. You can do all kinds of different stuff with it. And it's easy to get down again. And you can take your sourdough and put tons of honey on it. And then, if you have a meal that's 200 carbs or something like that you're having to get down, you can make that a lot smaller of a meal. This is how you're going to, if you're trying to put on size and you're wondering how to eat that much food, this is how you do it. And just to make it plain and simple, that's how you do it. Keep your proteins, what you can intake each meal, keep that consistent, and then just scale up the carbohydrates. And when the meals get too big, find ways to get more dense calories in. And I've seriously found just honey, maple syrup, any, pourable carbs like that, that you can just pour over something and you're going to get a ton of carbohydrate out of it. Works great, guys. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about this video. Just a little bit of, what I'm doing with food. Like I just explained, what I was doing with my peptides and stuff, testosterone dosages at this point in time in the journey. And yeah, we're planning on getting cranking on January 1st is the plan to get cooking on the official off season, or I don't like to necessarily call them off season because it's always on season, but I like to call it like a little improvement phase, where we're going to really put on some quality tissue there and try to bring these legs up as much as possible, try to bring these arms and delts up, chest up as much as possible during that time. And yeah, guys, I want everyone to stay along for the journey, and I will be bringing much more of these videos and exactly what I'm doing with full transparency. Just because I feel like it'll help, anyone that is starting out their journey, anyone that I may coach. If you guys want to know a little bit of the inside scoop on what I'm doing, anyone that may be needing advice or help or anything like that, feel free to reach out. I'll keep bringing these videos and sharing as much as I can of what I'm doing, sharing my training, sharing everything. And yeah, just with hopes of, one, being able to document my journey and the growth from this point to where I have my eyes set on. And then just to help people along the way, man, make connections, meet you guys, anyone that may need help with their journey or whatever they're going through. Yeah, this is just a place that we are here to, put our life out there a little bit to maybe help your life and connect with one another, all that good stuff. So much love, guys. Hope everyone has a great day.